Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brothers Take podcast and to our continuation of the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth Spoilercast. I am Chris. I am joined once again by my brothers Adam.
Hello.
And Eric.
Hello.
And we are back in the room to talk about the next chapter in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and for us that is Chapter 10. We're in Cosmo Canyon, baby! And as the title would suggest, this is, of course, a spoiler-filled discussion. As we have been doing with the previous episodes and the previous chapters, we're doing a deep dive into Rebirth, taking it in sections as we go along, and talking full spoilers, not only for this game, but through the lens of people who have played a lot of the compilation. So, the original Final Fantasy VII, Advent Children, Crisis Core, familiarity with Dirge of Cerberus might come up, things like that. So just bear that in mind if you're someone who's maybe just playing this game and still hasn't played the original. There could be spoilers for the original too in the discussion, so just be warned before we go in. But this is not just a one-sided conversation. We want to hear from you guys too. So if you're watching YouTube, make sure you jump down in the comments to share your thoughts on Chapter 10 or anything before that. So basically, if you have reached Nibelheim, just reached Nibelheim, then you are caught up with us. So anything you talk about before that is fair game. Anything after that, please save that for a later discussion, because we are releasing these weekly. Okay? So yeah, if you want to share your take, jump down in the comments on YouTube. If you enjoyed this discussion, please give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, ring the notification bell for all future episodes. And to those who listen to us on audio platforms, you can also touch base on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and X at The Brothers Take, again to give your take on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Cosmo Canyon. But without further ado, let's get into it. Adam, because you're always the freshest on this, Where would you like to start?
Well, actually, the first thing I would like to discuss really is what the fuck is up with Red.
Yeah, okay, right.
Yeah, we're jumping with it. Okay.
Let's address the voice immediately. There's a lot of discourse about this online, and so everyone so far in this game, you've probably heard, like, if you've listened to our other episodes, you've heard nothing but praise, right? We love this game. However, that does not mean that we're going to love everything that the game does. And I had a suspicion that we'd all be in the same boat here. But not everyone is. There's plenty of people on the internet who get really mad when you say you do not like Red XIII's Nanaki voice. And I do not like Red XIII's Nanaki voice so much, and it's not just the voice, it's his whole attitude and demeanor that I feel changes, to the point where from Chapter 10 onwards, I have not used Red XIII as much as that's how much it has affected me. Because now when he's spinning in combat, he's saying things like, "Oh yeah, get him, one more shot," and all this kind of shit that he used to never say. And it has really affected my enjoyment of using the character. And that's not a dig at the voice actor. And I totally understand what they were going for. I totally get it from I do. I get it from a actor's choice. I get it from why the director said, yeah, do keep doing that or whatever. But I don't agree with it. And I think it could have been conveyed still with... I still think you could have got that... Oh, like, he seems wise to us, but amongst his own people, he's naive. You know what I mean? Like, they do a really good job in Final Fantasy X with Kamari Ronso. He seems like a real stoic, wise character. Yeah. And it's only when you get to Mount Gagazet you realize he's the smallest of his tribe. He's actually, like, belittled by them, and they call him puny, and he knows nothing. And then that's when you realize he's someone who's trying to prove himself the whole time.
Yeah.
So I understand that what they're trying to say is Red is young.
Yeah, but
I don't think the voice needed to change for that. I think Bugenhagen just saying that line of, amongst his own people, he's a teenager.
Yeah.
And if he in his own voice said, like it could have been him like denying that. Like I kind of like the idea that he is trying to be older and stronger because he's trying to be a man, basically, for lack of a better word, because he felt his own father was a coward.
Do you find that is it
Yeah.
actually the same voice actor?
Yeah, it is the same voice actor.
It just doesn't like it. It doesn't. It actually sounds like they just changed the voice actor.
Right.
That's how much of a departure is. But it actually kind of like Cosmo Canyon is one of those areas I was looking forward to the most, mostly because of that music. This actually kind of ruined it a bit.
Okay.
There are moments of the Cosmo chapter that are real standouts to me, but being in Cosmo Canyon and the original as well, the way that music, like it's fucking speaker piercing, how loud that gets, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
Here it's a little bit muted, just a bit, like it's not as in your face, and then it's his voice, and it just feels, it just kind of went against my expectations in a bad way.
I feel like this is like the first chapter where where the game has not met our expectations. For us personally. For others, it probably has, and that's great. And let us know why. But because I know Eric, the moment I got there, all I got from you was a message that said, "What happened to Nanaki's voice?" and crying emojis. You were not happy. So tell us your take on it.
Because I was ahead of yous. I was in Cosmo Canyon before yous were, and I think when we were discussing, I was in Cosmo Canyon. I heard Nanaki's voice by the time that we were recording the episode about the gold saucer. And did you like Kate Sit? And I was like, yes, no, I do like Kate Sit.
Right.
Because in my head, I'm like, I know where Nanaki's going, and I fucking hate Nanaki now. So by comparison, at least Kate Sit is consistent. Up to that point, like he still has a Scottish accent, he still has his whole demeanor. But yeah, because I think in an earlier episode, even just it was a build up to this game. We haven't even played it yet. And I was saying I think one of the things I'm looking forward to the most is Cosmo Canyon because it's so iconic. You get there, you hear that tribal music. It's awesome.
I know from previous episodes, well before like Get Remake or anything, when we were talking about the original Final Fantasy VII, and we went around and said, "What's your favorite music track from the original Final Fantasy VII?" I remember you said Cosmo Canyon.
Yeah, I fucking love Cosmo Canyon. I love that music. And I think even when we were talking about Remake, I said I think we all agreed that they just perfected Red XIII when he got out and he set his voice and played the Cosmo Canyon music. We're like, that's perfect, right? They nailed it because they've obviously heard maybe that people weren't too happy about his voice from Advent Children, right?
Right. Well, again, he had one line and it was like, that sounds nothing like what I pictured Red XIII.
Yeah, exactly. So
but this one is not so far removed. They managed to do something that's like he still sounds a little bit like the Advent Children one, but there's a bit more to it as well. Like it's not far removed that it's almost a different character.
Yeah.
The kind of huskier voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is like, well, that's what I imagine him to sound like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then he spoke and he was like, "Grandpa, wow, I'm here." And it's like, who's this? Who's speaking? Like I actually for like took me a few lines before I was like, "Oh, that is his voice. That's it now. That's what we're hearing." And then and then it keeps going and we're like, "Oh, I'm really just
none of us asked
now.
for it, but they just slipped Vaughn in there."
Yeah.
Into one of the coolest party members as well.
Yeah, he was awesome. Every word, dialogue was like poetry out of him.
Yeah.
And then you get to this chapter, and we get Vaughn, or we get Titus, and it's like, but those are not even the most interesting characters from those games. They're the ones with the voices that we take the piss out of.
Yeah.
So why'd you do that? And then the music for when you're actually roaming around the canyon. Not actually in the town, because at least when you're in the town, you have the tribal music, which is awesome. When you're roaming around, you have this fucking weird ass. I don't know if it was like my game or it was happening to everybody, but you had the weird Western music, kind of Western version of the world music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then whenever I got onto a Chocobo, they start playing the Western Chocobo music,
Yeah.
but also the Western world music at the same time.
Yeah.
And it was this mix mash, and it was horrible. And I was like, I'm a completionist, and I need to get everything here, but I also cannot wait to leave.
I didn't mind it so much, but I did
Yeah.
find that when I got to the area Cosmo Canyon is not that enjoyable. I think like the actual world area is not that enjoyable because there's bits where I'm like, I actually don't know how to get to this part, like wherever I'm supposed to go.
It's the one I've used a guide the most.
Well, I haven't. Yeah, I just kind of fast traveled. Like if I'm down below doing all the exploration, I'm like, how do I get back up to the Chocobo Ranch? I have no idea. Like, so I just fast travel.
Yeah.
But once you get to the Cosmo Canyon village, I guess, the planetarium or planetology thing, yeah. One of the things that struck me, like that, I actually thought the town was fantastic. It kind of reminded me of Horizon. When you got
yeah. Town is great.
Yeah, it's just really, really good detail. It feels familiar, but they've managed to expand on it a good bit. One thing that took me by surprise a bit, though, is that in the original game, I always thought that was an area for science, and it is in this. It's an area for science, but they've managed to turn it more into a religion, and I don't recall that so much in the first one, which was a bit weird for me. I thought it was a bit strange. Yeah, because it got kind of Final Fantasy X vibes from it a bit.
Yeah, a little bit. And I get what you're saying. And I think they expanded on a line that kind of Barrett has in the original, where he says like Cosmo Canyon is kind of the home of planetology, and he talks about how like planetologists tell us these things about the life stream and everything. So, and I think that's as close as you get to a religion in the modern world of Final Fantasy VII. Like they're kind of like. Religion is a weird, kind of specified thing in the world of Final Fantasy VII. Like, Aerith's in a church, and you're like, yeah, but what? Like, so
yeah,
who's this church for? And what do they worship? And then planetology is kind of both the literal physical science of this is actually how life works, but then it also seems to be a bit of a religion in that a lot of people don't believe in it. And so yeah, it's an interesting one that Cosmo Canyon is sort of the home of both science and religion in a way, and they're both interwoven, and then there's people who don't believe in either, I guess. But yeah, I thought the location was cool, and I liked the music there. I think it suited roaming around. What I would say is, to your point, Eric, about the kind of Western version of the main theme, I'd have made that the loud, bombastic Cosmo Canyon. Big, loud drum, boom, 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 everywhere you're going. So, and then when you go into battle, you get a battle rendition of it. Like,
yeah.
And then it can be more muted in the town. Because I like the muted version in the town, and it's kind of nice as you're walking around, and it's more flute. Like, the flutes kind of take over more so than the drums.
Yeah.
But I'd have had in the region, let it be, like, real drum heavy. Yeah, because I didn't care for this Western take on the main theme. I was like, of all the versions of the main theme I've heard, this is the worst. You know?
Yeah, but I find it interesting how malleable it is. Like they have managed to. Like I think with Remake, there's a lot of really standout original tunes. In this one, it's like there's remixes nearly of tunes we've heard before, mostly. But I think it's quite interesting how they've managed to change up that music every so often. But I went back to the Gongaga region to do some like leveling up and things, and there you don't have the world theme.
No,
You've got like this whole new theme. So yeah, there's probably, it's weird that some places will have renditions of the world music, and then other places will have its own standalone soundtrack. It's a little odd.
Now, I will say, like, with saying that, the music in this game is outstanding, and they've done an incredible job throughout. You know what I mean? Especially that stamp music.
You shut your damn mouth.
No, that
You
sounds like I'm
god-
making fun of the music. The music is actually incredible, but yesterday I was jeering Eric because Eric's the one track Eric doesn't like is that Bow Wow Wow theme, and I was telling him, I was like, people online love that song. Like you're not in tune with people online at all. They fucking love the Stamp theme and the fact that the Stamp theme got a battle theme. Like they love that shit. It's when you're
Are you
following the
serious?
dog and June. Yeah, I'm serious.
People like that?
Yeah, they fucking love that shit. Bow Wow Wow. They love that shit. But anyway,
It is good,
um,
but unlike remake, I don't know. Like obviously, it depends on what comes out this year. I'm not kind of like, well, I think this will win best score in the Game
like
Awards.
immediately.
Yeah, not immediately. It's there hasn't been a real standout, I think, in the music department here.
I think it definitely will get nominated, not
Oh, yeah.
necessarily for like wow standout, but just for the amount of variations they've done of tunes. They put that amount of work in. I think they might.
Oh yeah, like from just a pure composition point of view.
Yeah.
Like it is genuinely incredible.
Because
Um,
like they didn't have to do that, I suppose. Like
No, they
have
didn't.
to go right. You're in Corel. Here's a version of the main theme, and now you're in Cosmo Canyon. Here's another version. Because most games would be here's the world music done. You know what I mean?
Well, it's like there's more tracks in this game than there is in the original Final Fantasy VII,
Yeah, I think
and that is impressive.
it is really, really impressive. But it's when I think I think it's challenging with an open world game because with a more linear game you can have the music to suit that particular area and that moment in the story. Like in remake when you're going through the slums, for example, like you go through there a couple of times. There's like, before the plate falls and then after the plate falls, when you run through there, there's like two very different music scores
Yes.
because of the moment in the story. Here, because you can be at anywhere at any time. That's a bit of a challenge, and obviously all open worlds have that problem. But just to be consistent with our podcast, if we look at Skyrim,
Yes.
that the score there obviously does an incredible job of no matter where you are and whatever the moment is, but it all feels very cohesive. Like it sounds like it's all the one game. And I feel like with Rebirth, it chopped and changes so much that it's never consistent with the moment that you're at in the story.
Apart from in cutscene, right?
Oh yeah, no, I just mean when you're
Yeah.
exploring,
You mean
like
just roaming? Yeah.
yeah, like when
Yeah.
there's a very important task for you to do, but you decide to go to a different region to do.
I get what you mean now.
It's
Yeah.
not consistent with the moment of the story. Now that would be a huge undertaking, but it's just
That's going to be interesting when we get to, not to jump too far ahead, but that's going to be really interesting when we get to the third game. Because, do you remember, like, in the original, and this is what we were saying, like, there could be spoilers for the original stuff. In the original game, when Meteor is summoned, right, the world theme changes. And as you roam the world, there's this really dark, foreboding kind of theme that plays through it. And I wonder, when we get to that point, will you still be able to like fly to Costa del Sol and everything's fine? Obviously within the towns they did have their music, but it was when you were roaming the world. There was this dark, gloomy theme, and I wonder how they're going to tackle that.
I suppose it would be neat if they have the current tracks that they've now created for each region,
and a doomsday version of them.
Yeah. So no matter where you go, it's like there's a familiarity now with the tune, but it's a deeper one.
What does the gold saucer sound like in minor?
Yeah. It's kind of like when you're
Bow Wow Wow sounded minor.
when you're in.
No, that's gonna happen, man. It's gonna happen.
Like when
I
you're
liked
in
it,
when you're in the grasslands, like the tune where you're near the swamp versus when you're actually in the swamp, the way that changes, like that is to me that's like a really standout moment so far in the game in terms of the soundtrack. That bit really stood out to me. So it's something like that I think would be really neat.
Yeah. So in summary, we weren't chuffed with the change in Nanaki's voice. Who's obviously this whole time been doing a Batman kind of thing, where he's like putting on a voice this whole time to sound tougher and bigger than he really is, and then totally drops the act immediately when he gets home. and then doesn't say, "Oh yeah, guys, by the way, this is my real voice," and he just goes, "Hey guys," and they're all like, "Okay," like nobody even address. Like, why were you lying to us? But I guess Aerith was in on it because this now answers the question of who she was talking to.
Yeah.
Anytime Red was in the room, and it was in fact Red. There was no, and it's kind of funny that we were immediately like, "There's something weird there," and oh, is she talking to his flame or something? You know, it's like, anything but. She's probably talking to him. He's the only person in the room. Because we were like, it can't be that voice is him. Like, it just can't be.
Mm.
So that's kind of interesting that we jumped to any other wild conclusion. And I think they knew that because they put question marks above it. They were keeping it. It was supposed to be mysterious, like who is the voice in the room? And then the only person to come out is Red every time, and it is Red. It's his voice. It's kind of funny that everyone was like, it has to be something else, and yet the answer is obvious, you know? That moment, I'm not saying I like it or anything, but it did remind me of in the original when you're like, when you get Cloud's reveal, and you go, oh, I'm an idiot. Yeah, of course it was him. Like, there's so many fucking clues. It's like, why would I... I bought into this big, he was made up and he doesn't exist and he only was created 5 years ago. And I was like, no, of course he's that dude. That makes total sense. So,
but now I just hope that when we get that reveal, that Cloud doesn't change.
Oh, yeah. Maybe he will. His
It's
voice
just...
goes, hey, guys!
Hey guys, want to play some baseball?
I think this, I think this is one of the this highlights kind of a weakness in storytelling from the JRPG kind of genre versus what we're getting in the West. And actually, one of the nice things about like this is probably the only praise I'll give Final Fantasy 16 really is
all right, yeah.
The way they're able to tell a story in a very subtle way. True character. Like here, with all their characters, like even Yuffie.
Yeah.
Like when she's trying to get a point across, she's very animated.
Yeah.
And that makes sense in older generation of games because you're very limited by the amount of animation you can do. But the subtleties they're able to do now with the characters' faces and eyes and things like that, and even with music, it's really not necessary. And here's another example of them kind of going, well, we just don't know how to express this youth in a non-human character. They have to go the whole extreme and just change his voice.
Yeah, I would say though that for me, this is the first time that it's in this remake project where it's like a character has been presented in a way that I find uncharacteristic of their writing skills. Like, I actually think Yuffie being really animated makes sense to me. She's a 16-year-old bombastic girl, you know? I think all the characters are portrayed really well. Cloud is really subtle throughout most of his... You know what I mean? Like, the characters, I think, are written and performed incredibly well. And this is the first time where I personally feel the decision they made drops the ball a little bit on representing a character.
Yeah, because they do...
Is it the first? I don't know. I'm still not sold on Sid, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's even things with Barrett that I find that he's overly animated, even in remake, than he needed to be. You know?
Yeah.
But then there's moments where they're incredibly subtle. Well, not incredibly subtle, but at least more subtle than what they're...
I have to say, I do love, if you notice, every time Barrett puts his sunglasses on...
Yes, I was just about to say that. Yeah.
It's to hide his emotions.
Yeah.
Every time. It's really good. Like, in this game, he puts them on for, like, I think the first time when they get to Corel.
Yeah.
And the moment they walk into the town, he puts them on.
Yeah, you don't quite know it.
Really good.
Don't quite realize it until I think it's when you get to Cosmo, and he does sniff a little bit and then puts them on, and it just kind of like hammers
and
that
highlights
home.
What he's been doing. Yeah.
And that kind of shit I think is amazing. And it's a bit at odds when you see some characters are like straight out of a cartoon and other characters are a bit more modern in terms of their writing and performance. Yeah, it's really it's very unfortunate to see what happened to Red.
Yeah, and unfortunately, spoiler alert, that's the rest of the game with him, you know? That's he remains because then I thought maybe he'll put the act back on I don't know why he would, but maybe he will. For me, do it for me, Red. I loved his voice, and I personally don't love this new, well, what is his real voice in this. But I know lots of other people do love it, and we want to hear why. And
Well,
I know
I'd
you're
love
probably
to know
going to
why.
say, well, because it's who he really is. He's finally being his true self. It's like, yeah, but that doesn't have to be reflected in just a voice change. That, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And his whole demeanor changed, and it's very strange. What do we think of Bugenhagen? How do you pronounce it?
Bugenhagen.
Bugenhagen. Because
I think so, yeah.
for years I was like, it's Bugenhagen. So
Or yeah, like, either. Like,
I don't know, but
it's fine.
whoever what you got, Eric? What did you think of Bugenhagen? Boogerhag?
Mr. Boogie.
Boogie.
One of them calls him that, isn't it?
What?
I can cast it. Like, yeah, when you're when you're returning to Cosmo, he's like,
original?
yeah, no, in this one he's like, let's go check out Mr. Boogie. I was like, what are you talking about? And then I see Bugenhagen comes around the corner, and I'm like, that's fucking hilarious.
Kate's funny.
Yeah, they did a really great job with Kate's. He's very entertaining.
I still don't use him. I haven't used him yet in combat.
Oh, he's awkward and
You haven't
awful
used
to
him
play
yet?
as.
Not really. No,
Just jump to him and use him.
yeah, no.
You might be surprised.
Might be, yeah.
I think you should probably start using him.
Okay.
Give you a heads up. But anyway,
It's just fucking between Nanaki and the music, and then the planetology being very like typical modern religion, where it's just very, we have to dismiss everything you're saying because, oh, look at you, oh, you speak of weapons, and then Bugenhagen was doing the same thing, and I'm like, come on, guys, this is the place where we're supposed to like get the answers and maybe a bit of hope and a bit of someone's on our side, and a bit of spiritual guidance. I know we just get slapped in the face by fucking everyone because they're just like, no, you don't know what you're talking about. And then even Bugenhagen's like, no, you're silly. How about I give you the CGI video of the planet? See, I know more. I was like, okay, right.
That was a bit at
have...
odds with the original, wasn't it?
I was fully expecting this was going to be like meeting the Oracle in the Matrix kind of thing. Like, I was fully expecting, not that he'd have all the answers, but that we would start getting a bit of it, because in the original, this is where you get a bit of a lore dump as to this is how the planet works, right? But we've already been kind of explained that throughout in greater detail in these games anyway. I really thought he was going to start like diving into like theories of alternate timelines and shit or something, like, to start weaving in that other stuff that's going on with Zack and stuff. Not that he knows about Zack, but just that like there is theories about this, and we've been studying phenomenon, and I really thought we were going to start getting a bit of a lore dump there, but he just sort of confirmed what we already know, which is, yeah, when people die, they go to the live stream, and
I think we already kind of
aware of that, right?
We brought this up, I think, when we were talking about Remake, didn't we? That they kind of blew their load with this kind of sequence in the Shinra building.
Yeah.
Which is why this needed to be a new sequence, though.
Yeah. Like, this was just kind of
an
abridged version of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I wasn't exactly overly thrilled with Bugenhagen. I liked his materia ball that he floats on. Seems a little
cool.
overkill. It's overkill for sure.
That's cool. It's fucking cool.
That's cool. But it's overkill. I mean, the amount of souls in that freaking thing. That guy.
Is it a materia ball, or is it just an orb thing? Does it just look like a materia? Does it? I don't know.
I have no idea.
Either way, it's overkill. You could just have one of those wheelie things from Costa del Sol if he wants to get around.
I know you have to have the ball. You have to have the ball.
He has to.
I know he has to have the ball
He
because
has
it's
to
in
have
the
ball.
original game, but I'm just saying.
I still don't know what it is.
That's fine. We don't need to
know.
know.
These are the things I wanted expanded. I want to know what his ball is. No, John. I thought his voice was great.
Yeah, he kind of reminded me of the Greybeards a bit.
And he looks great. Like
he looks great. Voice is great.
Brilliant.
The design on his coat is really cool. There's like a constellation on the back of his jacket and everything. Like, I was like, that is sick. It looks.
The design and performance is very good, and it's very matching of what I expected from Bugenhagen. From the original game, reading the dialogues. It's just that it's a pity that everyone there is slapping you in the face and saying you're silly until you're getting on with Red's story. Then then their kind of attitude changes. But I did actually like, because I think it's after that moment, doesn't he he invites you down to like the candle ceremony or something?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I really liked that. That was quite a nice moment.
Yeah, I liked them letting the little lanterns go, and
Mm.
there was something really nice there. It reminded me of I think the inspiration for that scene must come from in the original. There's a scene where they're all sitting around the campfire at Cosmo Canyon,
Yeah.
and Barrett is reminiscing about Avalanche and saying, you know, we had always planned to come here.
Yeah.
Which is reflected really nicely in the Protorelic Quest
Yeah.
of the Cosmo Canyon region.
It's actually some really nice stuff in those side quests, I have to say.
Yeah, some of them are really worth doing.
It's just playing them is shit, but the stuff that you get is good.
I wouldn't go that far. I don't particularly love the Gears and Gambits mini game, right?
No.
Like
That's so unnecessary.
But it's fine. Like it's worth it, I think, for the cutscenes because they're brilliant. Those little flashbacks with Wedge and Jesse and Biggs, were just really, really nice, and it's a nice way of including those characters without doing another big like Wedge is back and he didn't die at all. You know, like it's nice that they confirm, because a lot of people had theories that because you didn't see Wedge die, he's not dead in remake.
Yeah.
And it was nice that you had the other Avalanche guys confirms like no, we saw him die. Like we saw him land, and yes, Wedge died. He is dead.
I like Barrett's response there too. You know, he just looks at them straight up and he's just like, "Thank you," you know, because he just needed that closure.
Yes. Yeah.
But I actually just did because I went back to Gongaga. I did a side quest there with an arms a guy who makes weapons.
Oh yeah,
I thought
Izo
that
or
was
whatever.
I thought that was brilliant because it was just like, it's a small little tiny story. It's not anything crazy, but it's just that whole thing of Barrett constantly seeing his arm and his weapon as a curse, and the weapons guy is pretty much letting him know, no, this is a gift, because like the weapon maybe, but the actual attachment is amazing because you can put whatever you want on it. And they were saying about like changing it into a whisk just to make us some cake or something like that. You know?
Yeah. But yeah, the fact that he was like, whoever did this, like, did an amazing job and saved your life. You know?
Yeah, and you just started to see Barrett like look at it differently.
Yeah,
and look at his purpose differently. It's like those little tiny bits throughout, like, that are sprinkled. There's a lot of
I think that's why most of the side quests are worth doing, because they do something for the characters.
Yeah,
more than anything else, you get deeper character moments, and honestly, like, the highlight of this game is the characters, really, and their interactions with each other and their relationships with each other, which is kind of what this part of the original game was anyway. It was like explore the world and get to know your characters better, because in each town you go to, you start getting their backstories, which is what Cosmo Canyon is about getting Red XIII's backstory and him coming to terms with his father and all that kind of stuff. So why don't we get into that now? Down in the caves. Have we missed anything that you wanted to talk about first, Eric?
No, I just involves Red 13 and then involves talking about his voice. So,
however, this was actually,
we can't write him off altogether.
This was definitely the best moment in the Cosmo area. I think this is the best bit of the chapter. It kind of reminded me of God of War, actually, going through that whole the trial thing, and then the trial thing itself wasn't that fun. It was okay. And then you fight a really fucking annoying boss. Gynatak.
Gynatak.
Or is that Gynatak?
Guy Fletcher.
It's Gynatak.
Gynatak.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're the Gi.
The design of that is very in touch with the original.
Yeah, he looked sick.
But yeah, that was I wouldn't say the first time I really struggled with the game, but he was tough. I don't know what the fuck he was doing, but somehow I ended up being insta-killed. I actually found something afterwards that would have helped.
What was that?
There's a thing, and I found it. It was just like in my inventory. I don't know. Maybe I got it after beating him or something like that. I don't know. But it's like one of the earring things, and would prevent you from. Its actual description is stops you from being insta-killed and turned to stone.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that would help.
Well, that helped. Yeah, that would have been great. If I hadn't known about that, that would have been wonderful.
That's not the safety belt, is it?
No, it's some sort of like orb thing. So it's in. I think it's an earring or something. I don't know.
Oh, it has. I think it grants. Is that the one? It grants reprieve, which basically, if it's an instant kill, you'll be on 1 HP. So you got to be ready to like
Yeah.
heal yourself immediately. But yes, it will stop you from immediately dying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have helped a ton.
Yeah. I'd love to know actually if people have like tactics for the various bosses that have come before. Yeah, has anyone got any like tactics for any of that? You know?
Yeah, because apart
They've
from
been
just
using
kind of
throughout.
hitting, like utilizing their weakness, I still haven't synced with the game fully. In terms of like loading out the proper materia, knowing which synergies to utilize, actually knowing which of the folios, like which one I should be, like I'm just kind of unlocking as I go. I'm not really even thinking about it.
Yeah. I ended up making my characters basically jacks of all trades, because I just found that whenever a boss had a weakness, the best thing I could do was have everyone hit them with that weakness, rather than it's like, okay, so who has the ice? Because this guy's weak against ice, so that person will just do ice. I found then that if an enemy had an ice weakness and I made sure I had ice on everyone, then as soon as their ATBs are full, you hit them with ice, you hit them with ice, you hit them with ice. Now they're fucked, and then just go in for the kill. It was kind of so I ended up. It was kind of a boring layout because it didn't give anyone a specific role, but I ended up just like, so whatever equipment gives me the most materia slots, so that I can equip everyone with. And it was handy having like those ones that were like fire and lightning, or ice and air, or whatever it was, because I would just equip them on Cloud so that he has all 4 of those as he needs them. But yeah, what ways do you do it? Do you have like I'm gonna give them a specific role, or?
I try to equip as much materia, like on it, while keeping the best equipment. But I don't really pay attention to like making sure everyone has ice or fire or something like that. I kind of just go down through the list of like, right, what's the next green materia that's not taken? All right, I'll give that person that. And then I go through purple next, then I go through blue, and I go through gold. And I kind of divvy it out that way to make sure that everyone has. And then I try as much as possible to do those whenever there's combination. It's kind of linked materia slots.
Yes.
So as much as possible, I try to get them actually
like auto cast with healing and that kind of thing.
I actually probably should assign that. I just have not done that, but I probably should.
Oh my god, it is the biggest lifesaver in boss battles.
Yeah, really needed.
Yeah, that is huge. Yeah.
I generally just give each member will have like 1 or 2 specific in terms of each element. So I do rely on one person. But if I have, I might have an ability that does lightning, let's say, on someone. So I tend not to give them the lightning material. I'll give it to someone else, because at least I could do some sort of lightning damage. And what I normally do is, depending on the gear I've given them, you might find that like, their attack has gone up, but their MP has gone down with this one. So with that particular person, I'll give them the MP up materia just to kind of balance that out, to bring that up. Same with like HP. Like if the HP went down, I give them a HP up. So I just tend to try and balance out the equipment with the materia as much as possible. So whatever, whatever came down, I try to bring it back up a little bit.
It's interesting because like I like the materia system, and this is lifted straight from the original, but like it's so simple, but can be really deep. Like, and everyone can have a completely different strategy with it. And that's why I love it so much. Like, it's so, like, people can have completely different builds, and all it is granting an orb to each person, based on their available slots.
Yeah.
But it can completely change how a character is used.
I love the attention to detail in the game that the materia is in the weapons.
Yeah, it's great.
See it.
It's fucking great.
It's not just a generic fucking, there's like 2 greens and a blue, even though that's not equipped onto their weapon. Like it is matching what you're equipped. But yeah, that little attention detail is so nice, I find.
But I was very impressed with the gi
They're
Yep.
in this
very
game.
cool.
They are really cool.
I love your
And
man's voice.
yeah,
That's a
I
good voice.
I heard somewhere, and then I couldn't stop thinking about it. Um, but this was before the game even came out. It was fun. Like you hear he was in the trailer,
Yep.
one of the last trailers, and people were like, "Who the fuck is that guy?" And the most obvious thing with like the bones on his face and stuff was that he is someone from the Gi or something. But I was listening to a podcast who were theorizing as they were like breaking down the trailer, and one person was like, "Is that the same voice actor, right, as the original announcement for Final Fantasy VII Remake?"
Yeah, it does sound like
Right.
him actually.
The
Yeah.
guy who was all like, "We looked upon a foreboding star," you know that guy.
Yeah.
If you go back and listen to it, you're like, "Holy fuck, they sound very alike."
Hmm.
And then, obviously, it didn't happen here. But when I heard that, I was like, "Oh, are they gonna have he delivers that speech, and it's gonna be this weird like, this was all about." The story we're telling here, and not about the like even that announcement was written into the script long before we realized what it meant. Or I just had that moment of going, that would be fucking sick. It would be a real like, oh shit kind of moment. But it could be the same voice actor. He sounds like him, but he sounds great.
Yeah, his design is really cool too.
Hmm.
Kind of
Yeah.
I don't know, kind of remind me a little bit of the tribe from Resident Evil 5, remember?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
sure, yeah.
And going
I
through
liked
their
the-
village, like that entire sequence, like being taken off to their village, the music there was fucking killer. Really cool. And that to me kind of felt like Hades in God of War.
Yes.
Very hellscape, yeah. The effigies were cool as well, and I thought that they were really interesting. Like all the Gi specters were attached to these effigies, these statues, and they'd come out and they got their hoods and whatever, and they're floating. You got to attack them. But I thought it was really interesting that the statues look nothing like the Gi because they're all multi-armed and they look like something out of like God of War, but it just added this level of culture, I think, to them. That was like,
Mm.
is that how they see themselves, or are those statues of something else entirely? Because am I correct in thinking from what they were saying, they're not from this world, or at least
Mm.
when they were born differently or something?
The suggestion from what they say is that they are aliens
Hmm.
that
Right.
came to this world, and because they're not of the life stream, they can't return to it, and so they're trapped in this hellish limbo where they're dead but have nowhere to go.
That's
Which I was like,
badass.
that's not suggested in the original at all. In the original, it's not clear who the Gi are or what they are or why they're fighting you or whatever. But I was like, that is a fucking amazing rewrite.
Yeah, and actually the way they are, it's them wanting the Black Materia. Like that was such a cool way
Yes.
of introducing that.
Yeah. It's the only way to free ourselves
Yeah.
is to bring this planet to like oblivion.
It is a
Like,
little bit
that is
kind of
sick.
like on one hand, I think that's really cool and a cool way to kind of introduce the Black Materia. But on the other, I kind of dislike that so far in this game. It's basically just been the meme, did Sephiroth do this? Everywhere they go, they're like, I bet you Sephiroth's involved. He's nowhere near here, but yeah,
This is probably what he's after.
yeah, most
Yeah, I get
definitely.
what you mean.
It just feels a little bit like we need to somehow still rope this into the main story, whereas I think they could have done that another way without even needing to even include him. Like
Yeah.
that's on its own, that's pretty cool to kind of say, well, we can't let them have it.
I honestly would have introduced in some way, shape, or form. Maybe if it's Sephiroth haunting the cloud or something. I think I would have introduced the Black Materia earlier into the story.
Yeah,
But they don't know what it is,
mentioning it,
and
yeah.
they don't know where it is.
and then
And
this
then the whole
realizes
thing
it.
becomes and the whole thing is actually like a treasure hunt for the Black Materia. That this is, and then it's like that's what you're looking for. Let that be the MacGuffin, which it becomes. It becomes the MacGuffin of the story, obviously. But if you had that earlier on as well, this whole search is really about we're looking for clues about the Black Materia or where was it last heard of or seen of. And it's like, well, the last place it was ever mentioned was Cosmo Canyon. So let's go there for clues. And then you find out from these guys what it is. And, you know, I just think that it could have put it into focus a little bit more.
Even if the hooded guys were like mentioning it as part of their mumblings and ramblings and stuff like that quite early on.
It could have been like, you use that as well early on as Yuffie's in on the party.
Yeah. She's like, oh, hell yeah, that sounds amazing.
She's like, I'm gonna go with them till we get that, and I'm gonna steal it. And then obviously over the course of the adventure, you know, her motivations change. But like that could have been a really cool, you know. So I just think it could have added focus to the whole journey of we are looking for the Black Materia. We have no idea what it is. We don't know where it is, but we know Sephiroth's after us.
Like obviously the whole thing is all about fate, and it's like, well, you know, everything is a bit kind of circumstantial the way they kind of happen upon it, but then is that destiny pre-told, and how much of this is actually like when Cloud is like going, oh shit, Sephiroth, where you might want this, like how much is that like Sephiroth planting that in his head in the first place so that he can go get it in order for him to give it to Sephiroth and things like that. But just if you are coming at this game for the first time, I do find the way the story's been written and told is a bit kind of like, we just happened upon here, and it just so happens that you know.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I do think these games are. They always say like, oh, if you're a newcomer, you can come in, and of course you can, but like you can do that with anything. But that doesn't mean you're going to get the great experience out of it. Like I really think they have been written for people who know the games. So like I get great enjoyment out of this because I know the story and I'm looking for those beats, but. Yeah, you do have that moment where you think about it's like, but to a newcomer who is just fresh on this, and you know, in the original, this is not a full story on its own. This is the middle of the story, of the same story.
Yep.
You know what I mean? This isn't so now it's like you have to restructure it and make this a standalone story. What are we doing? What are we looking for, and why? So yeah, but that is not to say that I don't fucking love everything that was going on here in Yi Village. It was fucking awesome.
Yeah, well, I on one hand, I was like, I need you to do something for me. It's like, cool. Could you ask your guys to back the fuck off then? Like, why are you attacking me while still wanting my help? You know, that just felt a little bit kind of. And that moment, it's a video game. You know.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No doubt. Did anyone actually try? Because I did immediately, and I was like, why didn't that work? The first thing I tried. Or that's what I want to hear, actually. What's the first thing you tried when you fought Geen Attack?
I pressed square.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I did that till I got my ATB power, obviously. And then the first thing I tried was throwing a Phoenix down on him.
No, I didn't bother.
Yeah, it didn't work.
No.
A part of me figured this game
I was like...
didn't have that in the mechanics.
You could do that in the original. So
yeah.
I just thought, you know what? I just want to see... is that still like a little in-game secret?
Does that kill him instantly, or does it just damage him?
I think you need like two. You need to throw two on him, I think, something like that, and then it cancels him back to 0, and then he's gone. Which is such a fucking cool.
Yeah, it's great.
I love when they do that in the Final Fantasy games, and it only works on undead enemies and stuff.
Like, yeah, it's a pity that I don't include that shit here.
Yeah. The first, I was like, right, I know what I'm gonna do. The second I fight this guy, I'm gonna try Phoenix down on this motherfucker. You know, I'm gonna just see if it works. But I suppose it would take all the spectacle out of the fight that they've just coordinated and come up with.
Yeah, but if you were to play the game on hard, let's say, right? So if you wanted in your first experience, if you found that little trick and it's like, that's fucking cool, right? And it's a cool way to get through it. It's a nice little nod to the original. And then on your second playthrough, you want to play it on hard, items aren't available to you, so you have to fight it normally.
True. That's true. That is very true. Yeah. How the fuck can anyone play this game on hard? God, that sounds crushing.
Yeah, like it would
people
be
obviously do,
obviously
but
very,
wow.
very difficult, but I don't like that they removed items, because I feel like that's part of the joy of the game, is the balance between, oh, will I use my ATB for this, or will I use it on an item? Like, maybe I can hold off. Like, that balancing, I think, is what makes it so enjoyable. I think just increasing the difficulty is enough. Removing an entire feature of the game, I think, actually I think it ruins the game, actually, personally.
Well, I understand why they don't let you play on hard immediately then, and why that's just, it's a, look at on a second playthrough, this is just a challenge mode, but it's not the actual way the game is intended to be played. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, normal is the way the game is intended to be played.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Obviously.
Easy. Very easy.
Dynamic is an interesting one, and I played on Dynamic for ages, and then dropped it, and then put it back to Dynamic again, and then eventually had to drop it again. I was like, fuck, this is fucking impossible. And then did not go back after that point. I was like, I take it it's only going to get harder from here on. Like, so,
What's the fight that made you drop?
Initially, the first one that made me do it, but it was actually more so that I wanted to finish a certain checkpoint before going to bed. Do you know that way? And I was like, oh god. And it was the boss fight in, because I said it in the last episode, it was the boss fight in Gongaga in the reactor.
Yeah, that's a cunt.
I ended up dropping for that, right? But I put it back up after that.
Yeah.
And played on Dynamic all the way up to a point that you're not at yet.
Oh, right, okay.
And then had to drop it again. I was like, fucking hell, I cannot, for the life of me, beat this character. They are just rock. So hard.
Nice to know that that's ahead. I'll have to do some grinding.
So, just serious heads up, like.
Serious heads up. It gets hard.
It gets very
Keen
hard.
Attack is the one that really, that I had to drop from there. Because I clearly was not loaded out correctly. Probably wasn't even the recommended level actually to do it.
Really?
Yeah, probably not. Which is why, like, when I was getting to the end of Cosmo, it's like your next objective then is to go to Nibelheim. But I was level 37 and its recommendation was 39. So I was like, yeah, I better do some grinding here. So I think I need to actually level up before I proceed.
Yeah. What did you guys think of the sequence with Seto? Nanaki?
Not as impactful as the original. Probably down to the voice, actually. But also the way that story has been told is not as impactful. The whole trials thing. And I think that probably goes down to what Eric was saying about the way Bugenhagen is receiving the group. He's very dismissive and actually kind of the idiot of it all when you think about it. Like, he's the one who's ignorant to everything, whereas actually he's the one who should be telling you everything. And the reason we're doing the trial is not so obvious, whereas I think in the original Bugenhagen is pretty much saying, I need to show you something, come with me. That actually doesn't happen. It's just like, no. you're ready for this trial, or you should do this trial, or whatever.
It felt like going through the motions, I thought.
Yeah, it did.
Rather than in the original, it is one of the most memorable scenes, and
the music is amazing there.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I personally wasn't moved by this scene at all. This has to be my most disappointing chapter to date, I think. On a personal level, I definitely think I got more out of every other preceding chapter. I have more problems with this one. And that doesn't mean I don't like anything about it. I do. There's lots I like about it. But I also, and maybe it was an expectations thing, maybe I had it up too high, but I just don't think they met my expectations going into it.
I'd say we all had high expectations with it because it's such a memorable moment. Even just because I don't fully remember every story beat or piece of dialogue that's said in the original game. But even when I was like a kid watching Adam play it or something, and he'd go to Cosmo Canyon, the music in itself, it's so distinctive, it's so memorable that it's stuck with me, right? I think with all of us, it's that area sticks with you, and then when you play it as a story and you're understanding as a story, it sticks with you more. The development of Red XIII, then that sticks with you. So I'm not 100% sure if we had high expectations for the area, or just that they just kind of made all the decisions that we didn't like. So it's not that our expectations were too high, They just went in a direction that we didn't want them to go in.
Also,
That
their
makes
bar
sense.
was pretty high, I think, with remake, because everything that they done there, they
Nailed.
fulfilled on, pretty much.
Yeah.
I don't think there's many bits in remake that's like, because even with the honeybee in, like, if you don't like it, fair enough, like, but they they really did elevate that.
They go.
moment.
They do go for it.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Whereas this is such a drastic change. I think the only bit of remake that people would maybe have a problem with is the end, because it is such a change. And when you change from the original, it's
Yeah.
like,
Well, that and I think the only other part of like a big part of remake that I remember being disappointed with in terms of the execution was the plate drop. I don't think they do the plate drop as well as the original does. However, the aftermath of the plate drop is handled so well that you then go, okay, now I'm getting the feelings that I wanted from the plate drop.
yeah, because
So
even
you end up
with
forgiving it. But the actual sequence of doing it with the weirdest music choice and then Kate Sit running out and you're just like, what the fuck are you doing?
yeah,
You
because
know,
even with
it was
this
a weird...
the Seto story bit, like straight after it, it's now completely undermined by this brand new story you're going to get. That you're following this Guy through to his homeland. Like, it's like, yeah, forget all that, let's go. You know, it just seems really that even the placement of those things seem a bit strange.
Yeah.
I don't know which I'm more disappointed with, because my expectation for both were so high, between this or the prologue.
Right, okay.
Because the Nibelheim sequence at the beginning also just fell a bit flat for me. But I think probably, I probably prefer this bit more, just because I think the town is actually fantastic. I think Cosmo Canyon itself is brilliant.
Yeah. It is, it's amazing.
To go around, and there's some Queen's blood there, so that's great.
You're still loving the Queen's blood.
Still loving the Queen's blood.
Fair play.
Yeah. What was I? There was something I was going to say and it's gone totally out of my head now. I will say that I think the design of Seto is fucking amazing. He looks incredible.
Yeah, it's great.
I know he's a case of stone all, but you can see all the detail of, his mane and what he looked like, and like I do think that's incredible.
He's a big guy.
He's fucking massive, yeah. Yeah, he's fucking huge.
He got jacked, like he went to the gym.
I think maybe this moment would have been sold more if, and it's not in the original, but just with all the voice acting and all the character development going on, I think if earlier you got hints of Red not liking his father. Like if there were not so straight out like I hate my dad, like not like fucking Titus style or anything, where he's constantly giving out about him. But
yeah,
just
like if,
whenever people are mentioning a father or something,
yeah,
he,
like if
looks away
Tifa mentions her father, like Red
little elements like that, or even if people ask Red, it's like, hey, where are your parents at? And he just goes, come on, let's go, and won't address it, and you just start getting hints of there's a history there, and just to sort of set up this moment so that when you get there, it feels like a payoff rather than a I'm just about to tell you now that, by the way, I didn't like my dad. It's like, well, I'm about to tell you now that he wasn't so bad, actually. Come with me.
Yeah. And the whole character change really affects this bit, I think, because it's really hard to... Well, it's distracting, but it's also... There's a character I've grown to know a little bit, and now all of a sudden I feel like I don't know this character, and I'm now supposed to feel for this character I don't know.
Is that the intention, do you think?
What, for me not to feel for him?
No, obviously not that, and then in that way that didn't work, but do you think maybe the intention is that you don't know this character at all, actually? You thought you knew him and you don't? I'm not saying I agree with it, I'm just wondering if that's the intention. Or is it that he's supposed to mirror Cloud a little bit? He's pretending to be someone he's not, or... I don't know. I don't really...
I still think there's a way that all that still could be done in a much more subtle capacity. Like, I think so, even if he wanted to do a voice change and not be as deep as he was, that's so different. That I actually thought it was a different actor. Like, that's how much of a change it is. It's a change of... The character changes, basically.
I will say, that is to say then, and again, I'm not commenting on the choice at all. He's a talented voice actor.
He's a very talented voice actor. He's very
you thought
good.
you thought it was a totally different guy. When you see him, actually, I've seen him in interviews and all. It's very surprising that that original Red voice comes out of him. This one is closer to his natural voice.
Yeah.
This is what he more actually sounds like. It's very impressive, that other voice, because you'd be looking at him going, "There's no fucking way that voice comes out of you," you know. But it does.
Yeah. No, he is talented, and he made that voice, that husky voice, sound very natural.
I wonder if that's why. Maybe they were like, well, the whole, like, again, you see, you can come at it from an artistic kind of. Do you know what? Make it closer.
But you shut your mouth.
No,
right?
listen, but you can. You can be like, right, make it like, I'm thinking about what you would say to the actor. Make it closer to your own voice rather than this voice you're putting on, because that's what the character is doing from their like writing perspective. But again, I just don't agree with the change in like complete mannerisms. Like, even in combat, he's completely different. Like, he's going through the trial and he's saying all these things that I'm like, why is he saying these things that he's saying? Like, he was nothing like this the whole game.
Yeah.
So that means, so during combat he was also acting the whole time. He was making sure to keep the act up while he's like in the heat of battle.
Yeah, like there is kind of an interesting thing there, this whole like finally letting go and allowing you to be who you want to be, and
see, this is the thing that people love about it. This is where people are connecting with it.
Yeah, and I think that is kind of cool that you could do that, but then you needed to. It's just the execution of it is not great. Like, it's not a good way to do it.
You need to set it up so that it's a payoff.
Yeah, let's say like actually he wasn't available to play as. Right?
Oh God!
You know, let's just say he wasn't available to play as,
sure.
right? And it's like, well, why not? Like, why are you standing over there and not actually getting involved in the combat, right? And then all of a sudden, because there's so much in terms of concentration on trying to maintain this persona, that's like he would slip up if he got involved in combat. So now when he's able to be himself, now he gets fully involved in the combat. It's like there's ways that you could still do it where it just doesn't feel like a complete different, like it's all serving that character choice. Now that's not a good decision either.
No, yeah, I was just about to say.
Yeah, that would be terrible. But
yeah,
it's just the way it's been executed. It just doesn't feel like could you imagine if I can't really think of any other.
No, you imagine if Bard all of a sudden his voice and mannerisms change all of a sudden. It's like the third game.
If you know what it is, I think it's like a Kratos thing, right? Kratos, I know, and okay, it is a different voice actor, right? But Kratos' demeanor has changed because his life experience has changed. But it still feels like the same guy who's just calmed down.
Yeah.
And I think that they could have achieved something like that, where he drops the "I know everything and I'm wiser than you" act and starts admitting that he because I think what they were trying to hint at as well during the game is that because he gets excited when you can play the sports game at Costa del Sol, he gets excited about playing Queen's Blood. I think what they were hinting at throughout the game, he wanted to be a kid the whole way, but he was pretending to be this old wise man, and he's not at all. So see, a lot of people are going to come out and say, they did set it up. There's hints the whole way, and the voice in the room, it's all set up.
Yeah, well then maybe
it's such a drastic behavior change, I think.
It's 10 chapters of having. Yeah. Well, it's not even 10 chapters because you have to count remake as well, and he came.
Yeah.
In chapter 14.
They ask him in remake.
So
they ask him in remake, "Who are you?" And he's like, "I am that which you see before you, nothing more." And he says it in that voice, and that's his introduction to the group. And to me, and with that line, I was like, they have nailed Red. This is exactly who he is. And the whole thing of, like, I feel like you still get the same thing of him being his true self if after Red Cosmo Canyon, no one calls him Red anymore. He's Nanaki. And he finally admits his true name. That's, to me, what the original did.
And it actually would have been a little bit more impactful if, when he arrives to the village, everyone in the village is like questioning him. It's like, what's with your voice? and he's like trying to shrug it off and stuff like that, and like because he's still playing the group, and then when Bugenhagen meets him, it's like he actually knows deep down why he's acting this way, and then it's only after he gets comfort about his father does he then accept his true self and be,
and the act changes.
The act changes.
Yeah,
because it's just that, it's just that moment.
Going for.
It just goes straight into a cutscene, and his voice is different, and it's like, what?
I think we all had the exact. Like I can already picture like all of our reactions because I was sitting on the couch and I went, "What?" Like the exact same. I was like, oh, "That can't be. There's a mistake there." And then he kept talking, and I went, "Oh no, it's not a mistake." I thought literally the first line he said is that they accidentally put in the wrong piece of like voice
audio.
Yeah, I thought there was an audio mistake initially.
My game is broken.
What the fuck? That's so weird. But anyway, look, we can go in circles about the Nanaki voice. It's not a choice that we agree with, and unfortunately, it's here to stay. But we know other people do love it, and we want to hear why you love it. And like, you know, do let us know. And this goes to show as well that we're not like we love Final Fantasy VII, but we're not like going to be completely biased to the point of like anything they do we're on board with. You know what I mean? If we don't like something, we don't like something, and if we like something, we like something, and that's the whole point of why we discuss what we discuss and the way in which we discuss it. I'm just wondering, is there anything else in the Cosmo Canyon region that you guys wanted to talk about before we wrap up this week's episode?
Have you managed to get Bahamut?
Yes.
Fuck you guys.
I have all the summons. I got all the summons at him.
I have all the summons.
Damn.
It's easy, man. It's piss.
No,
it really is not.
It only is if you do what Eric did.
Yeah, you need to get them straight away because I missed the memo, the little thing in the corner that basically is like they level with you.
Yes,
so
they do.
It'll never get easier. It'll only get harder.
Yeah. True. That is true.
I almost got
did not
but
know that.
he fucked me up big time.
He is cool. This is going to sound a bit weird. I understand why they've put the summons where they do, in terms of like in each region the summon gets stronger, so that by the end of it you have the strongest summon.
Hopefully, yeah.
Right. That's the idea. Adam, honestly, I got
good luck.
Actually, that's the other place I completely dropped it, and even at that I found it. I'm just going to give you a heads up. Odin is fucking impossible.
Okay.
You're going to have to look up a guide for Odin. He is so fucking hard. Well, I found him. Eric said he was grand. I was like, no fucking way.
I died.
So hard.
Well, again, I'm playing on easy. Okay, so that's one thing.
Second
that's fair.
He
did one shot me the first time, and I was like, what the fuck? But the way I play Cloud is I just keep dodging, and then doing that like wind blast slash.
Oh, are you keeping like ranged?
Yeah, so I found
how do you do that?
Was if you just keep press circle and then
push
square.
Circle enough and then push square, he does the like wind blast thing.
Yeah, he does like a wind blasting with a sword. So I found that really helpful for Odin because it kept me away from him, but I was still throwing damage. And then before I knew it, he was dead, and I was like, oh, okay.
Wow, that's impressive. But anyway, on the summons thing, what I was gonna say was, I find from a thematic point of view, I don't always find that the summon matches the region, in a way. Like I did think it was weird that Bahamut is in Cosmo Canyon. I don't know why. There's something about it that I'm like.
Why do you think it's more suitable?
I think maybe,
I think
Kujata.
Yeah.
Seems more Cosmo.
Yeah.
Maybe. And I actually think, and obviously, again, I understand why they're doing it this order. The idea is that the summons get more powerful as you progress. I think Phoenix would have been really fitting for
Bugenhagen?
No, for Cosmo as well, possibly.
Okay.
As another, I don't know. I really don't know.
I don't know. That thing is tough.
Yeah, you still can't get Phoenix.
No, because every time I'm even attacking the little things it spawns, every time I'm attacking them, it says reduced. I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to do then?
Yes. Yeah, the things that he's tethered to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're even taking a
Phoenix is an
while
asshole.
to take down.
Yeah, it is awkward. It's awkward.
Yeah. But it's a great summon to have, I have to say.
Alexander was easier, which is
Yeah.
weird because it came after.
That's saying something. Yeah, that was another one. I thought Alexander was weird for correct. Yeah, I don't know. But then eventually it's like, look, you have to put the summons somewhere, okay? So shut up, Chris. Just shut the fuck up and take the summons as you get them and enjoy them. 'Cause they're
Odin is
awesome
fitting
and
for
they do
Nibelheim.
great. Yeah, that one I was totally fine with. To me, that makes a lot of sense. I think that's great.
I like Titan and
So I'm going to have to do a lot of grinding.
Yeah, I like the mythology that they have for each of the summons.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. This game is amazing, right? I'm conscious of that. Like this was our most negative episode, right?
Yes.
I love Queen's Blood.
And that's and it's okay because you're not going to love everything about the game. If you do, it's like very rarely do you get a game that's
The graphics are amazing in this bit.
They're really good, yeah.
Like the place looked amazing.
But I just want I still love the game. In case this is someone's first time listening to us, in case they didn't listen to this and they just jump in on this one, I love this game. but Cosmo Canyon was my biggest disappointment. I think it didn't do it for me. This section, and even the region to explore, I didn't enjoy exploring the region. I've come back to do all the side quests, but I didn't initially. I wanted to move on. I wanted to get out.
Oh, there's one of the flying training things. It could be like the second or third one.
Oh, glide the Chocobo, yeah.
I can't
tough, innit?
do it.
The second one. It's the second one.
Is the second one? What's the crack with it?
Because I found the third one way easier.
Right.
You have to, even though there's no air thing, you have to pull up like Batman.
Oh, I didn't know you could do that.
Again. Yeah, to get back up. That's what you got to do. I didn't know you could do it either,
okay.
and that's why I kept hitting the ground and going, like I did like 10 times, right? Like an idiot without like pulling up or anything. I got to the ground every time. I was like, this is impossible. Like
the math ain't mathing.
Yeah, it's not adding up. I've hit every one I can, and you have to pull up.
Right.
So some of them don't go for them actually if you just want to get the minimum score to move on, because they'll take you too close to the ground nearly. Just get to a certain point, pull back up, Batman style, and go for something, because there's actually more than.
I might need
what
to
you're seeing.
invert my gliding controls.
Yeah,
Is up
that
down?
might help too. I can't remember. I'm so bad. I'm very like put it in my hands and I can do it, but I can't explain to you what I'm doing.
Yeah. I'll give that another go.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna have to leave the Nibelheim region for a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I found it very actually. Just one last negative point on this episode. I did find
You're a fake fucking bundle of negativity there.
I am that Gongaga and Cosmo were very annoying to explore. That it did make me go, oh jeez, I don't want to do fucking side missions or side stuff anymore. If the regions are gonna keep getting like this,
yeah, with I actually really love running around Gongaga, but I think if you're in a hurry, they can be annoying.
Yeah.
If you just take it as it is and just enjoy the game and enjoy just wanting to explore the area and just. I found Gongaga actually really, really enjoyable. I think I probably would find Cosmo enjoyable to go around as well if I knew how to get back up. Is there a way to get back up without time?
There is, yeah.
There is? Oh.
Yeah, well, sometimes you have to use the air things and everything to get to places.
Oh, okay.
It's really tricky to navigate. I kept having to use guides and stuff. It's my least favorite region to explore.
Right.
Just because of how it's laid out. But I will say, spoiler alert, my favorite region to explore is Nibelheim.
Really?
I won't say why, but I had a blast and I did everything in Nibelheim before moving on. Everything.
Cool.
Loved it. But I don't wonder if other people feel the same way. But I
think I'm going to have to go
absolutely
back
loved it.
to Corel because that's
For a while.
the one I completely skipped pretty much. I didn't really do
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I didn't do anything in that region.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you probably
so
should. Yeah, just get a few bits there. Yeah.
I don't have everything in every region either. I haven't got everything in Gongaga, but I did like enough, let's say, to just satisfy the leveling up and stuff. But Corel, I've pretty much not touched. So
actually, did you like Yuffie's songs, Adam? Because you're very kind of
yeah, she's amazing.
hit and miss with Yuffie. So I like her when you get on the Chocobo and she sings her little Chocobo song. Great.
Yuffie is great.
Yeah, no, she's definitely grown on. I think the thing I didn't like about Yuffie initially was that her energy was like 100 and everyone else's was at 20. And it was like really, it was like such a different level of energy introducing into the group. But now I've grown to really like the character.
And I think that works as well because when everyone is so low, you kind of need someone who's being the levity because there's a lot of still fun goofiness in the world, and you need a character at least to be on board with that.
Yeah, I just kind of felt like Lois from Blue Harvest. It's like, hey, another girl. I don't like her.
You're like, I already got Tifa and Aerith. I don't need this one. So look, the unknown journey continues. Next week we'll see where we get at and see what we can cover. But we will still be continuing our
mostly
Final
just
Fantasy
Queen's Blood.
Rebirth. Yeah, basically just Queen's Blood. How did you get on in that match? We'll be talking more Final Fantasy VII Rebirth in the next episode and going forward until we get to the end of the game and to talk about it as a whole and the finale and all that stuff and maybe what we want going forward. So make sure you are following for that. Just before we wrap up the episode, I just wanted to shout out very quickly because again, it's going to be of interest, I think, to Final Fantasy fans as a whole. At PAX East. So last week I talked very briefly about the Final Fantasy 16 DLC, but Yoshi P was talking about a lot of Final Fantasy 9 content coming to Final Fantasy 14. And he's like, people have noticed this and they're asking me about it, and I can't tell you why it's happening, but it's very exciting. And there's been a long fucking rumor about a Final Fantasy 9 remake in the works, which is interesting. So we might hear more on that. I don't know what and if they are doing one, I would imagine it'll be a one game, like a full just remake of the game, not a broken up trilogy or anything, just like a complete kind of more one-to-one remake, I think, is what they would do with that. Rather than this sort of split up and expanded an extra story, because there isn't like a compilation of Final Fantasy 9 to pull even more lore in. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Now that's not to say they won't expand on it, but I can't imagine they'll do this same treatment. I think it'll be a one-game thing.
And honestly, I think the only reason they've really done this type of treatment to 7 was really because of the difficulty of getting it off the ground in the first place, and that they needed kind of like, it's similar to the way Ground Zeroes was to the Phantom Pain. It's like they almost needed something there to try pull in, like a proof of concept, but also pull in some finance here as well to back the project. But that turned out to be such a success that I don't think they need to do that anymore. Yeah,
but there's also the popularity. You can turn 7 into a franchise. It's so popular across the world. 9 is really popular amongst Final Fantasy fans.
Yeah.
Like, there is a difference. It is one of the most popular Final Fantasy games for sure. But it's not every gamer's kind of like, oh yeah, I've played that one. I gotta remember that one. It is different. But if they do a remake of it, I'd play it. I've played most of the original 9. It is really good. And it's really funny and really charming. And I imagine I'd be interested, though, if they do a remake, what the art style will look like. Because I had a very particular art style that wasn't trying to emulate. Like, 7 had a weird blocky art style, but when you watch the FMVs, it's clear what they're going for is realism.
Yeah.
Whereas 9 is so clearly not. It's got more of maybe a Pixar kind of thing. Like maybe Kena Bridge of Spirits kind of art style would work for it or something, but...
That'd be nice.
If it's real, it'd be interesting. I'd love to see it. Would you guys love to see it? And what did you think of Chapter 10 of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and all of the other chapters that preceded it? What's been your favorite chapter so far? That's what we want to know. What's your favorite aspect of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth before we move on into the latter part of this game? We want to know. If you watch this YouTube, make sure you jump down in the comments to share your thoughts. If you enjoyed this discussion, please give us a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and ring the notification bell for all future episodes. And to those who listen to us on audio platforms, you can also touch base with social media, Facebook, Instagram, and X at The Brothers Take, again, to give your take on Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Our spoiler cast will continue. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll be back to talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.